You know, for almost 2,000 years, there's been one question about the future that has just fascinated and, let's be honest, confused believers more than almost any other. It's a question that has sparked so much debate, and for a lot of people, it really holds the key to understanding our place in the grand scheme of things.
It all boils down to this. How close are we to the end? It feels like every single generation asks this, right? Especially when you see wars and disasters and just chaos shaking the world. It's a question that never gets old, and it's rooted in a very specific prophecy that Jesus himself gave.
And here it is. This is the verse that's at the heart of the whole mystery. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 34, Jesus says, "Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." Now, the entire puzzle hinges on those two little words, this generation. So, why? Why has this one little phrase been the subject of so much debate? I mean, what is it about these words that has launched countless theories and predictions for centuries? Well, the answer actually lies in the original Greek. The phrase is he genea haute. Now, that word genea, it can mean a literal generation of people, folks living at the same time, but it can also mean a race of people or even a type of person. So how you translate that one word, it changes everything. Was Jesus talking about the people right there in front of him? Or maybe the Jewish people as a race? Or was he pointing to some specific generation way, way off in the future? Now, before we even try to solve the this generation puzzle, it is absolutely crucial to look at a clue Jesus gives us just a few verses earlier. He tells us, hey, learn a lesson from a fig tree. Here it is in Matthew 24, verse 32. He says, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." He's not trying to be mysterious here. He's giving us a super simple analogy, a really clear way to get what he's about to say. Think about it. It's just simple, obvious logic. A fig tree in the winter can look totally dead, but the moment you see its branches get a little tender and new leaves start to pop out, everybody knows what's coming next. Summer is right around the corner. You don't need a PhD or some complicated formula to figure that out. And that is the crucial point. Jesus is saying that the signs of the end are going to work the exact same way. They're not supposed to be some cryptic code that only a few experts can crack. They are meant to be obvious signals, just like a fig tree budding in the spring. Okay, so with that fig tree principle, the idea of obvious signs fresh in our minds, let's take a look at how this verse has been interpreted over the years. Scholars have basically landed on four main ideas about who this generation really is. So here they are, the four main takes. First, you've got the contemporary view. This one says Jesus was talking about his own generation and that the prophecy was fulfilled when Jerusalem was destroyed way back in 70 AD. Then there's the ethnic view, which suggests this generation means the Jewish people as a race. The theological view sees it more abstractly, as a type of sinful people that exists in every era. And finally, the futurist view, which believes it's pointing to a specific, final generation that will be alive at the very end. So, how do we figure out which one of these views is the most compelling? Well, the key, believe it or not, is to connect that lesson of the fig tree directly to the prophecy in verse 34. The answer is kind of hiding in plain sight, right there in the text. Okay, pay really close attention to the wording here. In verse 33, Jesus applies the fig tree lesson directly. He says, "So also when you see all these things, you know that he is near, right at the door." Really notice that phrase, all these things. He's pointing to a bunch of signs you can actually see. And then, bam, immediately in the very next verse, he uses that exact same phrase again. "Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have happened." That repetition is not an accident. It's the whole link. See, that phrase, all these things, connects the two verses like a bridge. Jesus is literally defining this generation for us. It is the specific group of people who are alive to see that final sequence of events, those signs, start to unfold. So what are all these things? Well, Jesus actually lists them out earlier in the chapter. It's a whole sequence, from widespread deception and wars to the Great Tribulation and crazy stuff happening in the cosmos, all leading up to his own return. So here's the big takeaway. The point isn't about us trying to set a date right now. It's about understanding the timing and the pace of the end itself. The message is, once that final sequence kicks off, It is not going to drag on for centuries. It will all unfold and wrap up really fast, all within the lifetime of a single generation. But Jesus doesn't just stop there. He puts this massive exclamation point on his entire teaching with one of the most powerful statements of authority you'll find anywhere in the Bible. To just drive home how certain this prophecy is, he says in verse 35, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. He's contrasting the permanence of his own words with the temporary nature of, well, the entire physical universe. The stars, the planets, everything we see will eventually fade away. But his words, they are forever. All right, so after digging into the context, the different views, all the clues, what's the bottom line? What does this all mean for you and me today? You see, the main point was never to get us all worked up, trying to set dates or living in fear. The message is to be ready, to be watchful, and to be faithful. To just live in a state of spiritual preparedness, paying attention to what's happening in the world without being consumed by anxiety, and to just keep doing the good work we're called to do. Ultimately, this ancient prophecy isn't just about some generation in the future. It has a deeply personal challenge for us, right here, right now. It kind of flips the question from when will the end be to something more like, how am I living today? So since the call is to be ready, maybe the real question is, what's just one thing you can do today to live a little more faithfully?